Welcome to the Professional Photographers of America's Photographic Competition. Congratulations! You have been honored to perform a task that is vital to maintaining the highest standards represented by the PPA Master of Photography degree. Your status as a PPA International Juror puts you in an elite group of individuals trained and qualified to evaluate these images based upon the 12 elements of a merit image. PPA's International Photographic Competition Committee is responsible for maintaining the integrity of every photographic merit awarded to these entries, and feels that a few comments are vitally important to create the proper atmosphere and mindset conducive to performing your tasks with the maker's best interests at heart. As an international juror, you are expected to critically view these images and evaluate their execution and interpretation of the subject matter. A merit-worthy image must demonstrate the maker's understanding and congruent application of the 12 elements of a merit image. Simply stated, the combination of elements need to make sense. It is imperative that an image be able to stand on its own virtues and must be judged accordingly. Your evaluation must be objective, without allowing any personal bias as to subject matter or style to affect your score. You must maintain an intense desire to be fair to the maker. Your heartfelt, consistent evaluations, whether for or against an image, are critical to the fairness of the judging and its educational value. Photographic work today spans the full gamut of subject matter from conceptual and deeply imaginative to classical portraiture. Our greatest desire is to fully reward creative and technical ability. To do so, you must be liberal in your interpretation of imaginative thought and style. District judging is the same as international judging in that numerical values are placed on images. These numbers serve two primary purposes. Number one, the scores are helpful in the selection of awards. And two, district judging scores gives more thorough barometer of how an image relates to merit, thus helping entrants prepare for the International Photographic Competition. Therefore, it is critical that you have the courage to utilize the entire range. To preserve the educational value of competition, you must deliver the proper score regardless of how high or how low. The quality of work submitted into any competition generally ranges from exceptional to below exhibition standards. Therefore, your scores must reflect this diversity. No one benefits when images are all scored in a limited range. As a reminder, first decide on the grade level, then determine the number within the grade level. This form of judging is paramount for consistency within this judging and for maintaining a level playing field from district to district. You must evaluate each image objectively without bias and render an accurate score. Give credit where credit is due. Reward creativity and excellence, as that is the nature of what we strive for. PPA's International Photographic Competition Committee is charged with maintaining the highest standards of the exhibit. And to give you a visual reference of meritorious work, here are some examples from the current general collection. Whenever there is a distinct discrepancy between your individual score and that of the jury, you are duty-bound to challenge that score. Your score may be significantly higher than the other jurors. You may have seen supporting factors in the image that other jurors may have overlooked. Conversely, your score may be significantly lower than the panel. You may have seen some areas of concern or technical issues that they may have overlooked as well. Either way, present your case and then listen intently on what your other jurors have to say. It is very possible that they saw things that may have eluded you. Be flexible. Listen to the comments and respond accordingly. If you wish to challenge a score, try to do so at once. However, as you've all experienced, there are times when you can't get that image and score off your mind. For that reason, even after the image has been scored, it is subject to recall for reconsideration. The person challenging is allowed to fully express him or herself without interruption. Each juror in turn presents their viewpoint. At times, the jury chairman, who may also challenge, may comment prior to the concluding rebuttal. So that each image receives the fairest evaluation, there are 3 automatic challenge situations. First, anytime an individual score is 10 points or more off the combined jury average, in scores of 70 or higher, the score is automatically challenged. The second automatic challenge occurs when the score result differs from the majority of the panel regarding merit. The third automatic challenge occurs when the score result differs from the majority of the panel regarding images scoring 95 or higher. Each of you must now rise to the occasion and task given you. Your diligence in these competitions will further the art and science of photography and maintain the high standards we all aspire to in our profession. It is your duty to preserve the integrity of the Merit and Master of Photography degree. It will also be your privilege and pleasure to reward the images you're about to see with all the honors they deserve.
Sunrise at Valley View.
Score's an 89.
Challenge. Have it at a 90. Let it come back.
Sorry.
I think this is just a marvelous image. I love the leading lines created by the logs that take you into the center of it. The balance of it's great. The color harmony is fantastic. The foreground just leads you right to the center of interest. I think it deserves to be in the 90s.
Excellent category 86. I agree with all those positives. Only negative I would point out is I'm not crazy about the presentation. I feel like the bright white mat really draws me out. I wish it was a little more subdued so it didn't compete as much with the subject.
Kari?
I scored this a 92. Definitely sharp front to back. Beautiful sky, beautiful foreground, detail all throughout. Very pleased in the excellent category.
I'm at 84 in merit-worthy category. I enjoy all the positive points mentioned already. Couple of things that have distracted me is the foreground water. Some of the areas are too bright, and the log that is going across the image seems to have some bright spots that held me back. But I'm listening, and I really enjoy this image.
I had this in the superior category with the 91. I loved the sky right away. I went into the rocks and just kept on looking down, and everywhere I looked it was sharp, and I thought the color harmony on it was beautiful. The presentation didn't bother me at all because I just stayed in the image, so that's my score.
In rebuttal, I think the mat's the right choice for this image. If you go to a color, then you're going to start bringing out a particular color, and white keeps that very neutral and lets us enjoy all of the colors that are present. The highlights in the water aren't going to trouble me either because the angle of incidence means that water's going to be bright with that light coming from that background. So I think the water is appropriate. The highlights on the log I think are appropriate. Everything just leads you right to those mountains and the area in between the mountains. I think the sky is spot on. I'm going to say at 90.
Let's rescore. Score is a 90.
Mennanite Farmer.
Score's an 80.
My sausage is on fire.
Score's an 83.
High tide. High tide.
Score 78.
Finding her bearings.
Scores an 81. The delay there was that we had a judge have to excuse themselves, so we had to have a 6th phone installed, and we didn't have that. So that won't happen again. So we apologize.
Sunlight over shadows.
There it is. Score 78.
Candlestick.
Scores an 80.
Are we done yet?
Scores an 81.
Rosie.
Scores an 80.
Union of the Snake.
Scores 83.
Challenge.
Larry.
I just want to talk about, I was next category up, 87, and really enjoy the uniqueness of this image here. I think the subject looks cool. There's a lot to look at. The composition is very strong, and just want to talk about it a little bit.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking the other way around. I scored this an 82, and I really enjoyed the image. Love the originality of it. What was holding me back from the next category a little bit was a couple things. The lighting. You know, you got a strong lighting in the upper right-hand corner coming down, but then also her left, our left side, the shoulder is quite bright. So I was a little bit disturbed by the lighting pattern there. And then also a few minor tweaks that I think could have kept it a little higher. The line on the background going across the bottom that you see, especially in between her feet and her hands there. You know, maybe a few other tweaks, and I think it could go into the next category.
I am at 82 in deserving of a merit category. I enjoy this image, very creatively done. But yeah, some of the things that already mentioned, the line and also how the feet are meeting the ground, something is going on, especially on the right feet, hitting the floor. There is no shadow detail or a separation of the feet on the floor. So that kept me out of excellent category.
I was in the deserving of a merit at 81. I agree with you about the lighting and also the foot. Also on camera right where her arm is almost one to the back of her leg, it's like it kind of just felt like it just came together as one for me. Didn't really feel right, so that's why I was at 81.
Steve?
I'm at 83. With the image being such a symmetrical composition, I wish the lighting had been a little bit more symmetrical and a little bit more controlled on the shoulders, as been mentioned.
Okay, well, I guess I'll address a few of these things. I mean, to me, I don't know how you would really symmetrically light it without it becoming flat or having cross lighting on it, which we'd be beating it up for. I feel like that left shoulder just has, I mean, if you look at it, it's sort of more of a solid orange, whereas the other's got more of a dusty look to it. So I think it's just naturally that the shoulder is hitting the light. It's not hitting the head, so it's getting straight on light on it, just like the other shoulder. It's a brighter color. I don't mind the line at the bottom. To me, it's more of a graphical piece that I think the lines and the circles and the triangles everywhere all work together. And so, you know, I guess it's just kind of a personal preference thing. To me, I feel like there's a little bit of an overlay on it that's giving it this grungy, textury look, which could be throwing some things off. I'd still like to see it in that category. I'll come down to 85. I hope you guys will come up and join me.
Let's rescore. Good challenge, 85.
There you go. Good job.
Morning Misty Peaks.
Okay, yeah.
You might have to clear.
Judges, rescore, please. Scores 81.
Still standing.
Scores 79.
Challenge.
PG.
I'm in I'm at 82 in deserving of merit category. I enjoy this image and the tonal qualities across the image. Almost all the details are maintained in the blacks and whites. I would like to hear what my fellow judges have to say.
I was above average with a 78. One of the things in the foreground of the photo, which seemed a little harsh to me, just felt like it was a little bit too harsh. That's what held me back on my score.
I'm at an 80 just inside the merit category. I love the composition. I love the balance of the two trees. It takes me right through that scene. I feel like there's detail where there needs to be detail, and I think it's deserving of a merit.
Above average 76. Wasn't crazy about the horizon line going through the middle, and I feel like the piece dips to the right a little bit. The horizon line does, and if you look up close in the sky, especially in the middle, there's a lot of dust spots and things up there, which I think could have been easily fixed. So for me, it's a little short.
77 for exactly the reasons that we just said.
I missed some of the dust spots on the top, so thank you for bringing that up. But still, I enjoy this image, and I'll be lowering my score to 79.
Let's rescore. Scores are 78.
Porcelain.
Did she rename the title? I didn't hear it.
Porcelain.
Scores are 79.
I'll challenge that.
Solid.
I put this in deserving of a merit at 84. I guess for me this was very emotional. I looked at it and I thought every part of this baby is perfect. The eyes, the nose, the lips, they captured the hands perfect. If you haven't photographed a baby in a while, it takes a lot of work, and this is just really beautiful. So I just saw it as really impact and great job with just getting the baby to pose this way. I thought it was beautiful.
Steve?
I have it at 80 just inside the merit category. I do enjoy the composition of this one as well. The lighter tones sort of turned me off at first, but then I kind of grew into it and really like the way they've handled the matte treatment and the placement within the matte. I think it's a merit.
The 77 above average. Enjoyed the composition. It felt like the highlights were just lost in detail in a lot of the highlights, and that's what was holding me back. Just curious what everybody else says.
Yeah, I scored this at 78, above average, and beautiful baby, beautiful face, beautiful posing. What held me back again was the highlights, and they just seemed a little bit too bright, and I think if those are toned down just a little bit, I think this could definitely be deserving of a merit in my eyes.
I'm at 75 in above average category. I enjoy this image and the high key quality of it, but some of the items mentioned, like the some of the highlights losing detail, and also the baby's our image left side the ear is mushy, and also where the blanket and the her hand are meeting. There seems to be some of those areas are not sharp enough, even though they are on the same plane. So those are the things that kept me out of merit category.
All right. So I would just tell you that if this was your grandbaby, you'd sit here and go, I love that. Everything that you want to look at, the nose, the mouth, the eyes, exactly where you want to look at is done perfectly. And the rest is not really anything you need to know about or care about the blanket. I understand the lighting needs to be a little toned down, but I would just encourage you to come up with me because it's beautiful.
Scores an 80.
Attitude.
Scores an 80. Judges, let's stand up and rotate. One chair to your right.
Yeah, I get this.
On fire.
Sausage.
Sausage on fire.
Sausage on fire.
Can you reset, please, when you get something?
Clear. There we go. This was challenged from before, so PJ, it's yours.
Yep. I scored this image in 86 in excellent category. I really love the storytelling aspects of it and how the story is carried all over the place and the presentation, all aspects of it, and I believe it scored in merit-worthy category. I would like to hear what my fellow judges have to say.
I scored it as an 85. I'm looking, and I don't have my score. I need the cheat sheet. In the deserving of there you go. In the excellent category. I just loved every part of it. I love the storytelling of it. I love the color of it. I thought the presentation of it was wonderful. That's why I scored it as I did.
I had it somewhere in the mid-range of deserving of a merit. A little confused as to why we left so much space over on the right-hand side to shift everything to the left, and the little hot spots coming in through the trees would have easily been easy to take care of. So those were the couple of things that kept me from going up.
Yeah, merit category, I believe 81. Agree with the space on the right. I don't really have a problem with framing it that way. Just wish there was something back there because all the rest of it kind of has this rhythm moving across of things to look at, and then there's really nothing over there. I was a little held back by on Mom's face. There's really harsh highlight line going down there, which you don't really have that light too many other areas, and I wish it wasn't quite as stark, but still love the image.
Yeah, I scored this, I think, somewhere around an 82. Love the idea, love the concept, love the storytelling. A few things that were holding me back that were mentioned already. You know, the extra space on the right, the light traps in the trees, the lighting on the mom's face. I feel also it tips a little bit to the right. And then also the top of that cooler is so bright and blown out, as well as the front of the dad's apron. Beautiful storytelling image, but just a few things that were keeping it down for me.
Thank you for your comments. About the right space, I believe that space is adding to the environment and the story. So if we cut in too close, I think it will be congested in the area there. And I see that there are a couple of hot spots on the image, but Mom is facing straight to the light, that is sunlight that's hitting her, and everybody else is not turned in the direction. Yeah, there are a couple of spots, but the storytelling and pulling off this image as and presenting it to us in this form, I feel it's really an excellent image, and would like to consider the points positives.
The judges, let's rescore. Score is 85.
The blush of love.
Score is 82.
Light after the rain.
Score 77.
Catalina Therese.
Scores an 80.
Challenge. I am in neighborhood category at 76. I enjoy this image and the presentation and the clean look of the image that's working here. Couple of things that held me back is her hairline all across seems to be too soft for the image. When seems like some kind of painting technique might have been used on the hair but not on the face, and some of the blacks losing the details. I would like to hear what fellow politicians have to say.
I had this 84 deserving of a merit. I was captivated by her eyes. And the moment that I looked at him, I loved her beautiful catch lights in her eyes, so I like the lighting on her face. I also see what you're saying about the blacks being blocked up. I'm listening.
I have it at an 80. I'm in favor of the merit. I think the technique with the hair, maybe soft focus, maybe just a technique that they've applied. It doesn't distract me from the image where everything that needs to be sharp is. I'm not troubled by really blocked up areas. To me, they don't feel blocked up. My eyes go straight to her eyes. So.
I was at 80 in the merit category. Enjoyed the overall image. I see what you're talking about on the outline of the hair. Only place it really bothers me is on the left-hand side. There's kind of 3 bumps there, and the middle bump kind of looks like something has happened on the top of that, which I didn't really notice before. So I don't know. I'm listening.
I scored this an 80 and loved the lighting on her face, loved the lighting on her eyes, beautiful expression. And what was keeping, I wanted to go higher on this, but what was keeping me from going higher was the exact things that were mentioned, and that's why I landed at an 80.
Yeah, I appreciate all the positive points mentioned, and I really enjoy this image, and I really want to make make some changes to take it to the next level. But like especially the hair technique, if you talk about it, like there is the soft focus happening on the top of the hair, but when we go to the left bottom, the hair is sharper there, and the sharp I mean blocked up blacks, it's probably a personal taste whether it bothers or not. And also the highlight on her hand going across the face is brighter than the light on her face. So those are the things. I'll be staying at 76.
How's this for score? 79.
Bound.
Title
Bound.
Bound.
76.
The Little Prince.
$79.
Workhorse.
$77.
The Leading Edge.
$79.
challenge.
Eugene.
I'm at 84 and I'm enjoying the visual in front of me. Beautiful tonal qualities. I would like to hear what my fellow judges have to say on this.
I was at above average with a 78. I want to like this, but I kept on looking in the middle of the photo. I couldn't tell what it was. And when I can't tell what something is, I kind of get lost in it. And then I also started looking at the composition of it, and we have this darkness on the top, then there's white in the middle, and I don't really have really strong composition, so that's what held me back on my score.
I have an 80. I wish the contrast was a little bit more increased because I would have gone up a whole lot higher. The matte, I think, is probably keeping me back a little bit, but I love the image. Just feel like it needs to be tweaked a bit.
76 above average. I agree, definitely. I think there's some potential in there for a really nice image, but I feel like it has a very underprinted feel to it. It just has a very gray look to it, and there's a little too much of that dark cloud at the top that I think just throws off the composition a little bit, because the bottom 2/3 is pretty interesting. Just needs a little more snap to it.
Yeah, 78 for the reasons stated.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, I was taken by the initial impact. I will be lowering my score to 82. I agree about the top portion being a little too heavy and the matte presentation not being going with the image, but I still think it's a merit image. 81.
Scores are 79.
Wingmen.
Scores an 86.
I'll challenge that.
Solid.
Okay. I have it at 91 in the superior. I started looking at this, and this is something that is the number one thing is impact. When it came at me, it was like, well, maybe it's my seat. It's like it's going to come out of this and fly right at me. And then I looked in the frame and how the matting is done on this. It's almost like the plane flew so quick that it flew in and then it's out. And I just had this moment that just made me move, and that's what I brought it into the 91 for.
I have it at 86. I think it's a marvelous image. I'd love to see maybe the front plane toned down just a little bit. It feels just a little bit bright. The inner matte is also troubling me just a little bit, making it a little bit busy, and it kind of keeps taking me out of the action. That's it.
84, high end of the merit category. Definitely agree with all the positives. Things keep me out of the next category is, I don't know what you call it, but the weird look that you're getting from the exhaust behind the main plane makes these two big circles that have such a painterly look to them that I just keep looking at that, and then below the plane there's another area of it that, to me, I keep looking at that and not at the planes, and then there's just so much magenta noise all up in that upper left. To me, it was holding out of the next category.
I scored this an 82, basically for the reasons that have been stated, but also the far right wing that's perpendicular up and down. If you look at like the tail exhaust stuff, it just kind of ends in a line, and that really bothered me that it ended in a line. I don't mind, the circles, and you can definitely tell it's a added exhaust, but to me that gave it more of an illustrative feel. So I'm listening. I'd like to hear a rebuttal on that.
I was at 86 in excellent category. I enjoy a lot of aspects of this image, a lot of impact. I agree about the matting, the second matte especially, and the key line seems to be a little bit stronger. And I was also confused by the exhaust, the work that's going on, and some of the lines that are there in that exhaust fumes. But listening.
So I think that this is really a beautiful piece, and I see that spot that Larry talked about. So I'm going to be lowering my score, but I still believe it's in the excellent category. So I'm going to keep it in that category at 86.
Scores an 85.
Lonely, seeking relationship, strings attached.
83.
Challenge. I scored this an 85. Excellent category. Love the lighting on this. Beautiful illustrative piece. I could just see this hanging in the home of somebody who is a guitar player. Love the tonalities and the matting. I think the texture in the matting match the texture in the door, and I think it's really attractive. So I'd like to hear what you have to say.
Eugene?
I was at 82. Enjoy this image and the lighting quality, especially, and the presentation. A couple of things that held me back and is heavy vignetting happening on the corners, especially on the left side. It's almost blocked up, like left side top. And also, I'm observing something in the middle of the guitar. There is something happening where the legs of the stool and the guitar is going. Some retouching mark seems to be left out or something like that. I'm confused about that now, and actually I might be lowering the score unless it's addressed to above average. I'm listening.
I was at deserving of a merit at 83. The thing that held me back was the storytelling. There's something coming through the door. I couldn't, in my mind, fathom what it was. Like, why would that be part of the story? What did that have to do with it? And I kind of got stuck on that little spot. I also think that the guitar has really strong textures on it. So I'm listening.
I have it at 85. The juxtaposition of the guitar with the stool does not bother me. That looks to me maybe to be a step or something. I think as a fine art piece, it really does its job. It focuses our attention right on the guitar. I think the vignetting is really spot on for this. We don't need to see anything in those corners. All we need to do is look at that guitar that wants to be played.
80, merit category. Really enjoyed the color harmony on this, and just the color palette in general is very nice. It felt a little flat to me. I feel like everything was very compressed, that there was about 2 inches between the front of the guitar and the doors behind it. It just has a very flat look. It was the only thing that was holding me back a little bit, but enjoy all the rest.
Yeah, in rebuttal, I still feel this is deserving of the excellent category. It was answered about the vignetting. I think that draws your eye right to the guitar. The little thing that you see on our left side of the guitar by the leg, to me, I think that's the strap of the guitar kind of peeking out from the back, just kind of curved around there. It's got a curved pattern there. The little pattern piece of whatever peeking through the door, I think just adds another element and another piece of character to that door, that it's not too symmetrical. It's just got a little something that gives a little bit more character, tells a little bit more of the story. So I'm happy with an 85 in the excellent category. Please join me.
That's your score. Score's an 84.
Iron abstracted.
$78.
Fender Bender.
Image.
That's it.
Susan, I'm sorry, rescore. Score's 84.
I'll challenge. I'm at 86. I'm in the next category. I think that's where this image belongs. The lighting on that kid is just stellar. It makes him look like he's in the spotlight. I'm sure he's daydreaming as he's playing, but that gives him the feeling that he's a star and he's doing what he loves to do. I think the detail is awesome throughout in the shadows. Love to see this move up.
82 merit category. Really enjoy the storytelling on this, and I think the lighting's really nice. I think I was initially held back by the burned down look of the rest of the scene, but I can certainly move around.
Yeah, I scored this an 86. I'm right there with you. I love the, what was talked about with the spotlight effect. At first I was a little unsure about the brightness on his face, but with you addressing that, I'm really happy with that 86 and letting that background go a little bit more muted because it's out of the spotlight.
83 merit category for what's been said. So,
I'm at 83, and I'm in deserving of a merit. When it came around, I just wish he was opened up a little bit more to me so that we could just see more of him. And one of the things underneath his sleeve, it's like on the right side, camera right, there's like this little place where it's a little bit bright. I just wish that was toned down a little bit. The lighting on his face is wonderful.
In rebuttal, I think if he's turned towards us anymore, you see too much of the guitar, and then that starts taking away from his face. So I think the angle of the guitar is spot on. His face is turned exactly where it needs to be for us to just get into his daydream and his life dream, maybe, to play. I think if you're the parent of this child or you're this child, this has captured exactly what you want in the emotions of what this kid's feeling and what he hopes to do someday. So I'm going to be raising my score to 87.
that's the score. Score's an 87.
Gifts from grandmother.
Did that take, Chris?
I don't know. Gone here.
Steve, yes, it took.
Okay.
Score's an 82.
Challenge. I scored this an 86. Love the storytelling here. You've got this young girl who has a not so pleasant look on her face, and I read this as Grandma was cleaning out the closet and she was over visiting Grandma, and Grandma's giving her these things that she really doesn't want. And I've been there with my grandma and not sure what to do with them. And you just look at that story and that face, and you look at the lighting on her face is handled very well. I love the tone of the image because to me it lends to the storytelling of the old pearls and the old fur coat. So tell me about it.
I scored it 82, deserving of merit. I love the tonality of it. I love the composition of it. I was held back a little bit on the mat itself. It may just be my angle that I'm just seeing a little bit of muddiness in the mat, but I love the composition tonality of the image. So,
I scored this at 81. I'm deserving of a merit, but as I sit here, I think that I totally underscored it. One of the things, I have a different impression of it as I'm looking at it. To me, it's like her grandmother died, and she's been passed this coat, and part of what I was looking at, it was her gray hands, and I was trying to figure that out. And then all of a sudden I got it. The maker, her grandmother's died. She's sad because her grandmother died, and she has this big void of where she's got to grow into what her grandmother was, this woman that her grandmother was. So it's like there's this story here kind of that just came across to me that is, I just saw it. I just think it's a beautiful print.
I was at 81, and I would love to take this image up higher. There's a lot of things I love about it. Most of it's been mentioned. I'm just a little concerned about the darkness of her hands, and they're so dark that I feel like that's part of the important part of this story, especially because her hands are so expressive. So I'm still listening.
82, I'll come up.
Yeah, in rebuttal, the only two things that I really heard as negatives were the mat in her hands, and I think that mat, the texture of the mat, goes perfectly with the fur coat, and it just brings it, your eyes go around in the circle around the mat and back on the fur coat, and you're looking right at it. As far as her hands are concerned, I think if they were any lighter, you'd be competing with her face, and you'd be looking back and forth between her hands and her face, and I just really feel the story is her face and her facial expression and her eyes and not her hands. So I'm very comfortable. I'm going to be raising my score to an 88. 86.
Score's an 86.
Desert grass at dawn.
Score's 81. Judges, let's rotate. Stretch. It's tight quarters up here, so be careful.
Need this one.
Everybody good in your new home?
Can we have another score sheet? We only have one for both sides of the table. We have the 12 elements, but we don't have. No, they're both 12 elements.
Oh,
That's how come I would go.
Right.
there's probably one on the table.
Thanks. Sorry.
It's okay.
Oh, you got your little handy dandy pocket.
It's also if you hit the arrow, it's on your screen.
What's wrong?
Is it? Okay. Okay.
Everybody good? Next image, please.
Lionsgate.
Score's 81.
Challenge. I'm at 87 in excellent category. The impact is amazing on this image. The lines and the tonal values that are leading us. I see some black values that don't have detail, but that's not bothering me because these lines are leading us in, and the shapes and design of it, I really enjoy this, and I would like to hear what my colleagues in this episode.
I was at 80, deserving of a merit. In the middle where the diamonds is, there's like a little bit of muddiness in there, and that kind of held me for a while. On the top of it, it's like there's a line going across, not a line, but of clouds kind of, and in the bottom right-hand corner, it was just so bright. And it just didn't seem symmetrical to me, so I kind of got caught in that, so that's why I was at the score I was.
I'm at 78 for all of those reasons and the lack of presentation on it. The middle of it is so muddy where the cross beam is, and the brightness in that bottom right-hand corner just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, 76 above average. Very interesting subject, but I think they're just a little bit off on the composition. I mean, it's not quite bullseye symmetrical, but it's not far enough that it give us a nice leading line. It's just a little bit off center, which makes it kind of look crooked and tilted to the left a little bit. That and the presentation.
82, and I'm still listening for the positives and negatives that have been said.
In rebuttal, thank you for your comments. I guess I was taken by the initial impact. I'll be lowering my score to 81.
Score 79.
God's eye.
Score's 81.
Irish Spring.
Judges rescore. $79.
Think before speaking.
83.
Challenge. I am at 87 in excellent category. What a great storytelling image. The way they took a shoe and made an expression out of it, and eyes and nose and everything, really enjoying it, and I would like to listen to my fellow judges' comments.
I had this in the excellent category at 85. The more I looked at it, I just laughed. I just don't even know who thinks of this. This is fabulous. It's just fabulous.
I had it 80, deserving of a merit. Feel like the lighting is so heavy on the left side and not enough detail on the right side that it just kind of threw me off a little bit. I love the story, I love the idea, I love the composition, but it just didn't feel like the lighting quite matched the subject.
I was bouncing back between 87 and 77, landed at 81 because I love the story, but it just, and I realize it's the technique, but it gives the whole thing just kind of a soft look. There's nowhere really that's crisp and clean. I wish it just could keep that technique, but have a little more sharpness to it. But love the concept.
Yeah, exactly the same thing for me too. I scored this an 80 and love the concept, love the creativity. I was really held back by wondering what was supposed to be sharp, but just a great idea.
So in this particular image, two things I heard is the sharpness and lighting. Let me address both. I think both are kind of leading us to the same point. Is the shoe is the brightest part of the image, and that's where our eye is going. So the technique is applied across the image, and so we are not really bouncing back between the sharp areas and the light, not so sharp areas. But the lighting is leading us to the subject, and those shoelaces are taking us back into the image from the left and then leading us back in again. So and lighting, I mean, it's done with from the left. The light is hitting the shoe from the left side, and we are supposed to have some shadows on the right side. So I would encourage all of you to join me in excellent category.
Judges, your score? 85.
But Mama, I did take out the garbage.
$78.
Lazy day on the river.
$78.
Sunset at Haystack Rock.
$79.
The look.
$80.
Gypsy.
$78.
What lies beyond the bend.
$83.
Forgotten by time.
$78.
West Texas Badlands.
77.
Lonesome Dove.
$78.
Tell me about it, stud.
The title again?
Tell me about it, stud.
I can't hear that last word.
Stud.
Stud.
Okay, thank you.
Never heard anybody use that.
81.
Rise and greet the day.
$78.
One to go.
$80.
A good morning kiss.
$81.
Challenge. I scored this in 86. I love the presentation of the simple white mat. Love the story, the highlights, the shadows. Love the misty, the foggy. Tell me a little bit more.
PG.
I'm at 84, top end of the merit-worthy category, and I was wondering myself whether I should be in excellent category. I will be listening. A couple of things that held me back is basically this image had almost like a monotone look, but some of the saturation points on the, especially in the middle right side, the greens and yellows, kind of felt like a distraction, but I'm listening and I would like to really go into excellent.
I was at 81, deserving of a merit, and for me it was impact. It just kind of seemed kind of flat and just didn't have a punch to it, and the other thing was color harmony for me also.
I was at 77. I just felt like it was somewhat overexposed and I really couldn't get into the color and the tonal values and the highlights. And then the stroke taking on that dramatic color at the top of the image near the sky just also kind of kept pulling my eye up there.
77's been said.
Yeah, I think that stroke keeps you into the image. You know, the softness to it, the tonal qualities is due to the fog, and the brightness is just that snowy, foggy morning with the sun coming up. So I think that all is part of the story. The saturation, you know, you've got more saturation towards the front where you have less fog, you know, between the subject and the lens to go through. So the saturation to me works for this image, and I'm comfortable at my 86. Please join me in the excellent category.
What's your score? 82.
Privacy, please.
$76.
Bloom where you are planted.
$81.
Hello.
$77.
Wild at heart.
79.
Coastal Keeper.
$79.
Glacier Bay.
Yeah, automatic challenge. Let's talk about it. Who wants it?
I can.
PG, it's yours.
Yeah. I am in merit-worthy category at 82. I enjoy the image. The image itself is really nicely taken, sharpness across the image, and the color values are nice. One thing I was not really crazy about is the presentation. The colors are completely off from, it's not really adding to the image, but the image itself I quite enjoy.
So I was at 79, above average. Having lived up in the Pacific Northwest, one thing is like light and airy, and the matte presentation is so dark, and that just really, really held me back from the image. The bottom of the image is so razor tack sharp, and as we go up in the image, the clouds just kind of make everything seem mushy on the top. So that's the reasons I was at 79.
I'm at an 80. I think it's a mirrored image. The matte being dark really allows me to go into that image. I'm afraid if it was a lighter color, the matte would keep me out. So I don't have a problem with the matte.
78, presentation, not so much the color darkness of it. To me, it's just so tack sharp and textured that I just keep looking at it. And I feel like we've got a nice image in the middle, but I've looked at that presentation a dozen times now, and it's distracting.
79 for what's been said.
Okay, all positives and negatives have been mentioned, so let us discuss.
Okay, guys, we score. Scores is 79.
Can we bring back the previous image, the one before?
The one before this image,
Yes.
the name is
Coastal Keeper.
And now it's the coastal.
Coastal Keeper.
Yeah, coastal. Yes.
we have a challenge for Coastal Keeper.
I was, I believe, at 83 in merit-worthy category on this image, and I believe it scored an 79. I would like to talk about this image. I like the sharpness of the image across the board, and the composition is nice. Just want to hear my fellow viewers' thoughts on this.
I don't, because it's been one or two images, I don't really remember exactly where I was. I think, in the 79-80 range. I just kept on going to the right side of the image, and it was like there was not enough span for me to enjoy it. Like I would like maybe a little bit more sky, a little bit more composition that way. And the waves just seemed so sharp in the front. And the beauty of this too is the lighthouse. So I kind of was, that's where I was at.
I think I was at a 78. I'm just not drawn to the center of interest the way I feel like I should be. I don't know if it's that it's so bright up there, I'm not getting enough detail, or if there's just so much else to look at in the image, but I'm just having a hard time getting over to that center of interest.
Above average 77, and I think, not crazy about the horizon line cutting the thing right down the middle, but I think the biggest problem is just the wrong time of day. It's just completely flat. You look at that lighthouse, there should be some sort of a curve to it, but there's just no highlight shadow. And I think the flatness for me is what's killing the impact.
Yeah, 79 for what's been stated, as well as I feel like it's almost two images, you know, with the title Coastline, what was it, Coastline? Coastal Keeper. You know, to me the title is about the lighthouse, but then you got this big crashing wave in the front, and I was torn for what was the subject, and I wanted to go back and forth, and it really bothered me.
Thank you for your comments. I will be lowering my score to 79.
Score 78. And with that, judges, we're going to take a break, and then we'll rotate when we come back for the audience. We'll take about a 6-minute break.
Roaring Run.
Next image. There you go.
Roaring Run.
'85.
Wise Men Enter.
'77.
Just Minutes Old.
'82.
Down the Rabbit Hole.
'78.
Puppy Love.
'79.
Challenge. I'm at 81. I think it's deserving of a merit. It's a nice story. I like the technique that's been done to it. I think the matte really brings out the image. Let's talk about it.
78 above average. Love the story and the overall direction they were heading with this. My issue is with the drop shadows. I feel like the drop shadows have some major issues, that they're really soft in some places, and then they're on the right edge. It's like razor sharp line there, and then like the dog, the front one of the paws is putting off a soft shadow, the other is putting off a straight line. Issues with the shadows.
Yeah, 77 for the shadow issues. Cute story though.
Sounds smart.
At 79, enjoy the storytelling aspect, but the shadows and also top of the head seems to be a little fuzzy or something happening there. 79.
I was at 81, deserving of a merit, but now that you said that about the drop shadow, I'm seeing that. So,
I totally missed the drop shadows because I'm totally caught up in the story and the image that's been presented here. I can kind of look past those drop shadows, I think, just for the impact of the story and the creativity and the technique. I'm going to stay at 81.
That's the score. 79.
Whale Watching.
'77.
Evening in Venice.
'79.
Challenge. I scored this as deserving of merit at 81. Love the color harmony, the foreground, background sharp, the sky's handled well with the highlights. Matte's a little bit heavy, but the story of the image is beautiful.
It's 75 in above average category. I enjoy the scene in front of us, but the color harmony is really taking me away, like the blues and some of the reds in the front, and also the cover seems to be a little tilted. Also, the foreground element, just happy it's there and not there. I wish either it's either show more of it or like cut into the water. So some of the composed elements are not working, and presentation is not really going with this image for me.
I was at 78 above average. The image is really busy, and I just almost don't know where to look. Do I look at the boats or do you look behind it? And then the blue boats compared to the orangish color building, it just, for color harmony, didn't work for me.
I'm at 78 just because I feel like the sky overpowers the rest of the image.
82, merit category for me. I really enjoyed the rhythm of the boats in front. The nice repetition kind of builds a nice rhythm across there. The sky for me balances out all that impact of color on the front too. So I feel like there's something in the back, the midground, and foreground. So 82, talk me through it.
Yeah, 81. I still feel this is deserving of merit. When you look deep inside that image, you know, there's no blown highlights in the skies. The sky's handled very well. I really enjoy the colors with the blue and the red. You know, it's what was presented in the scene, and the horizon does not look crooked to me. What appears to me is the logs or the dock is maybe running on a slight angle to the horizon perpendicular, so that's why you get a little bit of a discontention with the angle there. But if you look at that horizon, to me that horizon is beautiful and straight. Yeah, it's still deserving of a merit, 81.
Need to clear
Your score? $80.
Let your bloom shine.
$78.
Cannon Beach.
$79.
White Sand Sentinel.
$80.
GQ.
$81.
Ooh la la.
$78.
In the Woods.
$78.
First snow in Hockley County, Texas.
$76.
Box full of weenies.
$81.
Ella.
$78.
Sugar Mama.
$85.
Garden Grace.
$82.
The Speed of Sound.
82.
Challenge.
Steve.
I'm at 87. Wow, what a spectacular capture. Feel like the tonal values are all spot on. The mat works with the image. Love the story that's being told. Tell me what I'm missing.
I guess I'm in the same boat. I was above average 78. I guess I just don't know what I'm looking at here. I love the front half of the plane, but I don't understand what all that is at the back half. But I'm sure someone can tell me.
Yeah, I scored this an 80. I loved the angle, loved the lighting, loved the color harmony. Those white, foggy streaks in the back are really pulling it down for me.
I'm at 86, an excellent category. I enjoy this image, the color harmony, composition, everything. And those white spots to me goes with the title, so speed of sound, so that might be creating some sound waves there. So I took that as a story element. Beautiful capture.
I was at 81, deserving of a merit. It was the light streaks, and it started at the ones halfway, right past the cockpit. It just stopped me, and I didn't understand why they were there. And then in the back, also the lights. So that's what held me back on my score.
Okay, well, I'm not a rocket scientist, but I've seen a few videos where when planes do break the sound barrier and they make that sound, that you also have these vapors that appear in that very moment. So I think it really does, to me, realistically represent those vapors that take place once a plane does break the sound barrier. So I think they are there for a reason, and they're there to complete that story and to complete that title. I'm going to stay at 87.
'85.
The Morning Wait.
'81.
I'll challenge this. I have this at 87, and I have it in the excellent category. The impact is beautiful. The dress is exquisite. You start looking around, you can see that she's come out of her bedroom, and it's clear what it is in the background. You can tell. And then you look in every pane, and her face is in the pane on the camera right side, and she's lit very beautiful, and it's soft and it's exquisite, and so I think it's beautiful. 87.
I almost joined you up there, but the mat in the foreground, not the outside mat, but the treatment mat that's around it that kind of gives it that painterly look, distracts to me. It pulls me out, and then I see the painter treatment throughout the image until we get to about waist high up to her head, and then that treatment stops all of a sudden. So that takes me out of it again just a bit. I was at 83.
Yeah, 78, and love the overall look of it, and wanted to be up there with you guys too, but it's just the inconsistencies through that door. Again, kind of just to clarify where I'm looking is right along that main frame of the door right by her head. The top half is pretty photographic on the inside edge. The bottom half is really painterly, and a lot of those panes are either really painterly or almost photographic, and I wish they had carried it through all the way, one way or the other.
Yeah, 79 for what's been said. Beautiful lighting on the woman, beautiful posing, and just that painterly effect being inconsistent, as well as when you look at her dress, it doesn't seem, on the bottom portion of her dress, it doesn't seem to have the painterly effect, but then it seems like the reflection of the dress does have the painterly effect, so I get a hard time with that.
78 for the reason stated.
So I'm coming back. I still maintain an 87 on this. I'm going to tell you why. Being pregnant is like one of those moments where everything that happens in that 9 months is like a dream. You forget about it once the baby's born. I kind of understand where the maker was going. It's like this woman's in a dream. She's just come out of her bed. She's pregnant. She's happy. This moment will only last a few minutes. So what if it is painted on the bottom or if the doors aren't painted? That's not where we're supposed to look. Where we're supposed to look is her belly, and that is lit correctly, and it's showing that that's where the birth is coming from, right there, and something new. I think it's amazingly beautiful. I hope you'll come up with me.
The score? 81.
Little Peanut.
'79.
Fence Buster.
The title of the score, please.
Fence Buster.
Can I?
Judges, your score, please. I'm sorry. Score's an 82.
We call him Bubba.
'80.
The Smoking Gun.
We have an automatic challenge. Larry, why don't you take this?
I was Superior Category 92. I love the tones of this image. I mean, the blacks are black, and there's whites, and there's every tone in between. And the composition with that curling thing of smoke. Not sure exactly what the gun part of it is. Maybe somebody can help me out with that. But man, just impact-wise, phenomenal.
Yeah, I scored this 78. It really bothered me with all the smoke and stuff in front of her face, and then if you look at her chin, the white highlight that's right at the bottom of her chin, and I just kept thinking, why isn't she moved more either in front of the smoke or put the smoke more behind her? And then that little piece of smoke that's coming off her back toe, I just really had a hard time with the concept of this one.
78 with some of the reasons stated, and also some of the frontal and darker shadows or smoke happening, blocking some of the background line. And the straight line, the smoke is kind of going in a curve nature up to her face, and then there is a straight line going. We were somewhat confused about what is being the story told here.
I was at 78 with above average. The smoke didn't make sense to me why she was jumping into it or away from it or whatever. That didn't make sense underneath the chin, really bothered me. The darkness of the back of her hand. And also the back, her second leg behind it just kind of didn't feel like her real leg. So those were the reasons I was at 78.
I was at an 80 because I do love the contrast. I love the printing of the image, and I love the attempt at the story that's being told here, but the smoke really goes the opposite direction in my opinion. It seems like it should be behind her. That part I can't get into visually. What was the title again?
The Smoking Gun.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I can't help on this one. I can't explain any of these concerns really. I just had a lot of impact for me coming around, but it sounds like I'm way out there on this one. So I'm going to come down. I still would like to see it in the merit category, so I'll come down to 83.
Score's an 81. And judges, let's rotate. Find a new home. Stretch. All good? Next image.
Wands do have more fun.
Sally, are you?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good clear. Judges, your score. $87.
I'll challenge this. Okay, so I might be crazy, but I'm in the 96. I think this is in the exceptional category. When it came around, the title was amazing. The presentation's beautiful. I get the story. The storytelling on it is great. It's just so many elements of it. She's had some liquor. You know what I mean? She's like zombied out. You know, she's been playing around with her lipstick and her collar's off, you know, and her bra's hanging over. It's just in the exceptional category. Please come up with me.
Yeah, I think it's a great fantasy portrait. I had it at 83. It actually improved for me when I got a little bit more front on with the screen. So I'm going to continue to listen.
Excellent category 86. Agree with all the positives. I really enjoy the technique, where it's almost giving it this cartoon-like look, but they've still kept some nice sharpness to it. I can certainly come up.
Yeah, I scored this an 84, and the longer I look at it, the more I love it. I could definitely come up. One concern that I have is her lips seem to be off-center from her mouth, so it almost seems like maybe that's just a little bit, I don't know why her lips are off-center. If you could help me with that.
I'm at 87, and I love this image, love the story concept, and all the arrangement that was done here. I can certainly come up.
Okay, so I'm just telling you, the longer that this image is in front of me, I just freaking love this image. And you know what? She's had some booze, so that explains her lips. That's all I can say about that. She is just, I cannot take my eyes off of this dog. Is it a dog? I hope it is, because it looks like a dog. But it's just freaking amazing. It's like, I'm not wrong on my score on this one. This one, we deserve to make her feel good about this image. So come up with me.
Where are you?
I'm at 96.
$94.
Elena.
$81.
His force is strong. Revenge of the Fifth.
That's clear.
Scores are 79.
Silver Duality.
Say the title again, please.
Silver Duality.
$81.
Challenge. Let's talk about this one. I was up at 88. Next category up. I think this is a very interesting image. I'm not sure where to start with it. And you've got the two different light directions coming across, which I think works. You'd have to do it this way for the way the subjects are arranged. But it's a very unusual composition and interesting theme. So I'd just like to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you challenged this because I had a hard time knowing what to do with this one too. I scored this a 77, and I had a little bit of a hard time with the shadows on the lady on our left, her feet, well actually both of their feet, and where it kind of fades off into softness or fogginess a little bit on the right bottom feet. A couple of the highlights real blown out on her elbow. Love the idea, love the concept. You know, very original, and then also the presentation that's cut off on the bottom. So,
I was at 78 in the above average category. I love the concept and the story that's trying to be told here. Background element is really taking away from the story, it's not really adding it, and my eyes goes all across the image, especially having the shadows right in the middle of the image is not helping me, and some of the highlights between the toes of the subject on the right side is distracting. It's making a point of contrast there and taking my eye there, and some of the blown out highlights in the presentation pulling me back.
I was at 82, deserving of merit. What held me back from going higher with my score was between where the camera left foot is on the top over to the face, there comes up very strong shadow there in the middle, right where my eye goes, right? And so I just felt like the lighting on this wasn't exactly, but then I kept on looking at the two people, and it's very, compositionally wise, it's very pretty. It's just beautiful how they have put these two girls together. So I'm listening.
I scored it at 78. For me, it was the hollowness of anything material in the center of the image. Nothing really there to look at. The hard highlight up the bottom of the nose of the girl on the right, and with the girl on the left looking at the camera, that also sort of takes me out of it. So I'm at 78.
Wow. I think for me, I guess I'm just not looking at this as a portrait, so I'm not worried about how they've lit the people specifically. I think it's all about the highlight to shadow and having both, and it's almost like they're metallic in my mind. And so when you have some sort of like a bronze type material like that, you're going to have those blown out highlights from the light catching back, but you also need to have the dark areas. And there's just, I start at that upper right face and work my way down. And it's just this wonderful rhythm of light to dark, all the way through till you get to the person at the end, and then she's looking at you. And to me, I think it just makes for a very startling contrast as you're moving down through there, and then all of a sudden the person's watching you watch them. And I feel like the texture in the background, just it all goes together like it's a painting. And to me, it's an art piece, and I'm not looking at it as a portrait at all. So I love all these highlight and shadows. So I really feel strongly about the excellent category, 88.
Constance, your score? $84.
Stuck in indecision.
$76.
Narrow is the way.
$79.
Guarding my heart.
$82.
Until death do us part.
That's your score. $78.
You've got mail.
$78.
The pizzeria.
$78.
Closing time at the library.
85.
Is this gluten-free?
$78.
Waterfall in Scotland.
$78.
Blown away.
$86.
Challenge. Superior 93. I think this is a really nice image. I love the play on the little Whistler's Mother thing, the Maxell ad a long time ago. But I love the technique that they've used. That it's given it this almost painted type look, but it still has nice crispness, not Christmas, to it. That there's still nice detail, nice shading, and the dog is very cool looking.
Yeah, I scored this in 84, and I think I underscored it. Love the painting, love the technique done on it, love the style, love the little bowl that's spilling. Little bit holding me back is the mat, and also the bright floorboard right in the middle. Total center of the image is the brightest point, which I'd like a little bit more brightness and focus towards the dog and the lamp coming out onto the dog.
I'm at 86 in excellent category. I love this image. All the positives mentioned, really enjoy them. Other than the board, there is a shadow cast by the lamp on the wall or something. There's a shadow following along the lamp edge on the right side. That's confused me a little bit, but I'm listening. I would like to go.
I was at 82, deserving of a merit. Same thing with the lamp, the shadow there. Also on the bottom right-hand corner, there's like something down here near the front of the floorboard, but I'm listening.
I'm at 84. I believe I've underscored it too. As soon as I hit enter, I regretted it.
Well, for me, the area of contrast that I look initially at this is that the speaker there on the left. To me, that black square right in the middle of that open space is what draws my eye initially. And then that white molding kind of draws you right across. And so to me, it works as a stream to take you right across to where you're supposed to follow the image. That shade, I think that's just some sort of a fringe or something underneath the lampshade there, because I look at all the other little detail in the fabric and the little bowl that was mentioned with the water spilling up. There's so much attention to detail here that I feel like everything in there has a purpose. So to me, very strong image, and I'd like to reward the maker. 93.
Let's rescore. 90.
Thank you.
Flowers for lunch.
$78.
3 if by sea.
$79.
The Last Legacy.
$82.
Rebirth.
$77.
Total Eclipse.
78.
Isle of Skye.
78.
Rock and River.
78.
Ebenezer.
83.
Who's a good girl?
Yeah, we'll bring that one back.
We need to
All
clear.
right, okay. 77. We have a challenge. We'll bring back Ebenezer.
Yeah, I had him at 86. I think this is a magnificent black and white image. Detail everywhere there needs to be detail. Such an interesting character study with just spot on lighting. I think this deserves to be in the next category.
82 merit category, and definitely enjoyed the face and great light going across there. It felt really heavily vignetted to me, and it started making like the hat look odd, and I feel like the background is really coming to pieces with noise or something going on back there, which is bothering me a little bit, but love the face, so I'm listening.
Yeah, I felt, I scored this in 82 and liked the quality of lighting on his face. I just felt it was a little bit bright with that hot spot on his nose. You know, I think if that were taken down just a little bit, and as well as on the right side, our right on his hat, there seems to be a little bit of haloing or fringing going on. You see a white thin line there. Love the concept, love the character story here. Nice image.
I was at 79 on this in above average category. I enjoy this image quite a bit, especially the light quality and the detail that maintained on the face. But as we go up into the hat and the halos that were mentioned, the background issues and some discoloration happening, some kind of blue tint around the edges in the vignetting area. So those issues kept me out of merit category.
I was in the 86. I had it in the excellent. His eyes are captivating, and every little tiny hair above his eyebrows is like they're each telling a story, and his face, I'm not worried about the background because I just love looking at his face. He seems like he has more wisdom than I do. He's a very interesting fellow. I thought it was excellent.
Yeah, in rebuttal, I think maybe what we're seeing as vignetting may actually be light fall off. I'm not sure I see vignetting. I see pretty hot light right there in the middle of where his face lights up, which is exactly where you need it. It's kind of a harder light, which is really sculpting and giving us the character and the lines and the detail that we need in his face. And, you know, it may be doing something a little odd with the hat. I don't know what the fabric is of the hat and how that's reflecting the light, but certainly plenty of detail where it needs to be and no detail where we don't need it. So I still think we're in the high 80s here. I'm going to stay at 86.
Scores an 84. Judges, let's rotate, stretch. If you can. It's snug up around the head of the table. All good. Let's keep going.
His plan.
$77.
St. Murray.
Title one more time, please. Title.
Sainte Marie.
'79.
Challenge.
Eugene.
I am at 82 in meritoriety category. I enjoy the vintage kind of look on the image and the background that working well. I would just like to listen to my fellow judges' comments.
I was at 76 in the above average. I felt like the image was very flat, and I just felt like she didn't really have directional light on her, even though she's lit the way she is. And everything just felt very, very flat. The building feels flat. There's not contrast, really. And the presentation for me just feels muddy. So,
yeah, I was at 77 for many of the same reasons. The overhead lighting's creating such strong highlights across the bodice that just don't feel like the lighting was right for this.
I was at 82 in the merit category. I enjoyed the technique that they've done of just giving it that old time look. With which to me, some of the problems with the contrast and things could be a result of the failure of the medium that they're trying to replicate. But just so many like nice little details to it, like even on the right hand edge, there's stuff going up, and maybe it's just tree branches. Almost looks like handwriting going up the side, like you used to see on old pictures. But just an interesting image. Just while we're talking about it.
Yeah, I scored this a 76 for the reasons stated, as well as, you know, there seems to be all these little white spots in the grass, and I keep looking in to see what are those white spots in the grass. I'm not really sure. As well as a few white spots on the, you know, like on the window on the right-hand side, the third from the bottom. Just a few minor things that are kind of holding me back, as well as the lack of contrast.
In rebuttal, like, so all those things that were mentioned, lack of contrast and white spots, and somewhat of the bright spot, all this to me it's working as a vintage look, and it has that flaws that were part of the image. And so I'm buying into the story that if you consider this as a, you know, a print that was made 50s or something like that, so that's what the story is that's being presented to us, and I'm taking that as that, and I think it's still a meant the image, and I will be at 82.
Council's rescored. Scores an 80.
Aspens ablaze.
'79.
Mountain View.
'77.
Finders Keepers.
'78.
Black and White.
'77.
Fall's Finale.
'78.
Life in the Fast Lane.
'81.
Golden Sunrise at Yellowstone.
'84.
I'll challenge that. This I have in the excellent category at 87. When I first had this image come around, the impact on it was just beautiful. And then my eyes started to go around, and the title works in lovely with it because it's like golden, and it just sits in front of you, and every part of it has interesting parts that you just want to look at and stay in the image. And the lighting is beautiful, and the haze is beautiful, and the sky is beautiful, and every part of this is real. So that's why I had it at 87.
I had an 84, and I was so close to moving it up. The only thing that kept me out was really that upper right-hand corner where the general tonal range throughout the whole thing, as it's carried out up there, I just feel like it sort of fell apart in the contrast in that upper right-hand corner.
83 mirror category for the positives. Enjoyed the warm against the cool with the tones.
Yeah, I scored this an 80, and the upper right-hand corner did bother me too, as well as the brown key line on the presentation was a little bit bothersome, but I'm listening and I could definitely move up.
I'm at 87 in excellent category. I enjoy this image quite a bit. All the warm and cool tones just playing around, like you have the warm tones on the top, then cool tones, and then we have warm tones on the front element, and the tree that's there in blue in the top, and the reflection is warm. So I enjoy this image quite a bit in excellent category.
So I'll come back to, in the parks, there's certain places you're not allowed to go because you just can't. So you can't walk on this, or you can't go further. And you have this right time of day. They have this beautiful sweet light in the front, and in the back it just goes to a haze. The upper part doesn't really bother me because I'm just looking straight into the middle of the photo and where it's warm and it's so beautiful. And the key line, personally, I didn't even notice it. I kind of stayed so much in the image. I was looking at a place that I've never been before, and I was like, wow, this is spectacular. So I just hope you'll come up with me. I think it's a beautiful image.
That's a score. $86.
Intersection of wings.
$80.
The vast wilderness.
$79.
Cherry top chair.
One
Sorry.
second. The screen is being covered.
Oh, yeah.
It is.
What are you saying?
The screen is not.
Slightly cut off about
Left side of the screen is cut off.
Is my cursor on there?
Mm-hmm.
The left side.
the other direction of yours.
Yeah.
No, it's on the right side.
Okay. Okay, give me a second. Oh, what did it? Wow. I can't see where I'm not cursor is. Trying to drag that.
Just a
I'll
hair
help you, but I
smaller.
lost it. There it is.
I got an idea.
Oh.
I'll know what I'm gonna do this. Apologize. Let me see. You think you're losing some of the image, right?
Yeah, a lot of it.
Now it's not.
Thanks. Is that good on that left-hand side?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
it's a little small.
Bam.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, next image.
Cherry top cherub.
$79.
A grand awakening.
82.
Leaf underwater.
81.
Impatiently waiting.
81.
Connery Pond Dawn.
80.
Challenge. I'm at 85 on this in this image, an excellent category. I love the color harmony, how the composition of it, the fog leading us to the yellow spot in the thirds of the image. I would like to hear my fellow judges' comments.
I was at 80, deserving of a merit. I just felt like it was kind of flat and didn't have anything in it that had any composition that kind of made me want to stay in the image. I looked at it and then I kind of left it. It was just kind of flat for me, so that's the reason why I scored it at an 80.
I would have put it in the merit category. I scored it a 78 because I felt like the matte just took me out of it. The matte does not work for this image for me.
80 has been said.
79. One of the other things that bothered me was the upper right-hand corner, that bright blue sky, as well as I feel like it's a little too cool. Like it should have been warmed up just a little bit.
Thank you for your comments. I will be lowering my score to 82.
Scores an 80.
The Greatest Postman.
82.
Challenge. I have this in an 85. Beautiful story, beautiful lighting, and I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'd like to see it in the excellent category.
Did you?
I'm at 82 on merit-worthy category. I enjoy this image quite a bit, all the elements that are put together. One thing that helped me out of the excellent category is the matting, the presentation is kind of overwhelming to the image. It's not going with the image, and the contrast, it feels like it can use a little bit more contrast. It seems a little flat, especially the left top packaging. So those areas seems to be a little bit brighter and pulling us out of the image. So I'm listening.
Judge, let's talk a little louder. We're talking over this air conditioner right above us.
Okay. So I was at an 80, deserving of a merit, and there's a lot of work put into this print, and so I want to like it. But what happened was where the two girls are and where Santa, everything on that side of the photo looked like it was a photograph, and then all of a sudden I'm supposed to believe that he points his finger and we're in this magical, it looks like an overlay to me. I'm not saying it's an overlay, but it's not something that's real. And so I'm supposed to go from something that's so real on the left side of the image to something that has fantasy on the right. And then also on the top of the image, the lights, they go into that fantasy kind of it glowing kind of. And so I got stuck in that I want to have it be real mixed a little bit with the fantasy, and I'm stuck there. So that's why I was at an 80.
I'm at 82, and in addition to what's been said, the reflection of the light in the upper left-hand corner is just so overpowering up there, and I just don't feel like the girls are dressed in the feel and the emotions of this image. Maybe the first little girl, but the clothing choices have kind of brought me out.
Yeah, 82 merit category. Really enjoyed the image overall, and I don't mind the mix of the fantasy with the reality. That doesn't bother me too much. Just little details bother me, like the girl in the green. I wish she was posed a little differently. Her feet are facing moved, almost a 90-degree angle from where she's looking. And the reflection seems like there's times that it's really sharp, especially the girl in the white dress. Hers seems so much sharper than the other reflections, and maybe that's just the floor, but just little things are holding me back.
All right. In rebuttal, I hear what you're saying, and I still feel this is definitely a strong merit, but maybe not the excellent category. So I'll be lowering my score to an 84.
Guys, your score? 82.
Sweet Little Dreams.
$79.
Challenge. This is an 84. I think this is very well done. Composition spot on. Positioned off to the left, like the little trail of fabric over to the right. I think the tonal values are where they need to be. Nice high key image. Let's talk about it.
78 above average. Enjoyed the overall feel of it. I guess I keep looking at some areas like back where the hand meets the ribbon on the head. I can't tell what's happened there. It's got a really mushy type thing that's happened right there in the hair. I'm not sure what that is. I would love to have had a little different profile there where we didn't just have the eye kind of come off the edge. I feel like it's something we could have controlled a little bit once the baby's asleep.
Yeah, 77, beautiful image, beautiful posing. I love the angle of the baby, but I was having a hard time with the depth of field issues where when you look at her eyes that are sharp and even the front side of her shoulder and hand are sharp, but that backhand is so out of focus, as well as the, the back of the tail of the drape of the fabric there. And that was what was holding me back from a merit.
I'm at 76 in above average category. I enjoy this image quite a bit. Some of the things that were mentioned, and also discoloration on the right side shoulder on the image. There is all pink and there is a little bit of a gray area on the shoulder top. Those have kept me out of merit.
So I was at the 78 above average, and she's a beautiful baby, but I felt like that the lighting was that it was a little bit low. It starts right around her nose and then comes down. Lighting on a baby should be a little bit higher. And also the background goes a little bit mushy, especially behind her hand. On the backside goes to like, it's not a white like how the background is. And the little robe coming off of her, I can barely see detail in it. So those were the reasons that I was at 78.
Okay, so I've got a long way to go here, but I'm going to try. I think the profile's a little bit distorted because the baby's got his or her, I guess her hand underneath her little chin there, or cheek, kind of puffing that out a little bit. I think it's sharp where it has to be sharp, right there in the eye, right there in the face, the ear. If we were seeing sharpness in that right hand, I think that might be a distraction over there. So what feels a little soft back there is just fine with me. I think they've really captured certainly a merit image. I think it deserves to be in that merit category.
Guys, let's rescore. Now let's rescore. It does receive an 80.
Osable River.
The title once more, please.
Osable River.
$77.
Prairie Portal.
$79.
The Protege.
$78.
On the Right Track.
79.
The Gentle Giant.
81.
Reeds.
79.
Challenge. I made 86 in excellent category. I really enjoyed the color palette of this image and how it's presented against the white mat, and we are drawn into the image and the grass line there. I would like to hear my fellow judges' comments.
I was at 78, above average. I think the biggest thing for me was the presentation. I thought that the white around it was a little stark. It didn't seem to have a center of interest for me. I didn't really have anywhere directly that I thought that's where I need to look. And the lighting seemed pretty flat on it to me. So those were the reasons I was at 78.
I was at 77 for some of the same reasons. I felt like maybe crop about half the bottom off, and I could get into it a little more, but there's so much water in the foreground that that's where my eye tends to go.
78 for the negatives.
77 for what's been said.
Okay, I guess I got impacted by the image quite a bit. But let me address some of the issues. The center of interest is the grass that's there about the thirds of the image, and if we don't have the water in the front, we don't have this blue red color play happening all across the images. So that's adding to it, and we are taking into the grass there. And the white mat, like I mentioned earlier, is taking us into the image because the image is colorful and the white mat is kind of leading us in. But yeah, I like this image, but I might be scoring it at 84.
That's your score. Score is 79.
American Made.
78.
Angel Wings, in loving memory of Dallas Keel.
77.
Tunnel Vision.
84.
Challenge. Next category up, 88. I love the bullseye composition here with all the leading lines, and just this dark, moody feeling about it that kind of creates this nice vignette around her. But she's really jumps out of the image. The lighting's wonderful on her, so talk about it.
Yeah, 88. I agree. Beautiful image, beautiful composition. Love the leading lines. I was a little bit concerned with the brightness of her knee in comparison to her foot. I wish her knee would have been toned down a little bit. And the light behind her almost makes her appear to be haloing, but maybe that's just the end of the tunnel. So I could listen to what you have to say about that.
I'm at 80 in merit to the category. I enjoy this image quite a bit, and I love the leading lines that are going in, all the story elements happening there. Couple of things that kept me. One of that is the knee. So really a contrast point against the darker tone shirt, and also the shadow of her is what really not matching with the lighting pattern we are seeing. So the light is hitting her from the left, and I would assume the shadow will go behind her, but we are seeing shadow below her. So that's what is keeping me in merit category.
So I shouted challenge almost at the same time. I was at an 87, and I was in the excellent category. this image, how they put her in the tunnel and they have her posed, is just absolutely stunning. She's lit beautifully. She has perfect expression. There's so many things to like about this photo. She has detail in her shirt and in her clothing. The lighting is, in my mind, perfect on it. I just think it's amazing.
I would have easily put that in that next category if we'd had a little bit more detail at her foot and at the bottom. I just don't feel like she's supported well visually at the bottom as it's gone so dark. She almost feels like she's floating in there to me. So I can get past that and I'm good to go.
Well, it sounds like the big concerns are the bottom part of the image here. And to address that light at the halo at the back, I do think in my mind at the end there's some sort of a doorway or opening, and you can kind of see it in the reflection in those pictures or whatever they are on the side. You can see there's some sort of a white building out behind her that's throwing that light in from there. And to me, that's, in my mind at least, what's throwing the shadow towards us, is that backlighting. And, you know, I don't know, to me it's not as much a thing of whether it's believable or not as whether it's a problem. And I feel like it's not a problem for me. The foot should be darker than the knee. I mean, it's some sort of a dark brown fabric versus the skin tone, which is much lighter. So it makes sense it would be darker, plus the fall off of light. And I can see the laces. I can see the top of the shoe. Can I see the back? I mean, maybe not. But my God, is it an excellent image? I think absolutely. So to me, the overall impact of this thing way outweighs the little bit of shadowing at the bottom. So I'd like to reward it 88.
Guys, let's rescore. Score is an 87.
Okay.
And with that, we're going to take another 6-minute break and let you stretch and go potty or whatever. We'll be back here in just 1 minute. 6 minutes, actually. So for the audience, we have, we estimate around an hour to an hour and 20 minutes is where we're at, roughly wise, still to go. So.
That's including the artist? Good.
But not trophy selection. So,
okay.
You know, somewhere around an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay.
No, very good.
Next image, please.
Date night.
$85.
I'll challenge that. All right, I have this at 92, and I have it in the superior category. And when this image came up, I went straight. I didn't even see the girl in the photo. I went straight to him working underneath the hood. And I thought, wow, this is an amazing image. And then my eyes started wandering around, and then I saw her getting ready for the date. She's like, are you going to be finished with this anytime soon? So I just love the storytelling on it, is what I'm telling you. Then I looked around at the presentation of the mat. I thought it was excellent. I think the lighting on him is great. And she's kind of in the dark because she doesn't know when he's going to be done.
I was at 84, maybe a little bit low. I have a little concern about something happening at the back end of the car. It feels a little bit cut out right back there to me, but I think it'll be talked up.
81, merit category, and a couple of concerns. One, I'm a little concerned about the hood. The underside of it has a strange look to it for me. It looks very flat compared to how the rest of the car looks very three-dimensional. And not crazy about what they've done with those lamps up there, especially having the one right there in the edge of the frame that really draws your eye away. It's a bad place for that to be.
84 for what's been said, and also the top of that lamp has a brighter area on the top side of the lamp, which kind of bothered me too.
82, enjoy the storytelling aspect of the image, and for the negatives mentioned, and also the left side lamp, actually the light and the lamp are not aligned. The bright spot is slightly to the side of the lamp. 82.
So I come back to the fact that I can understand that the lights are there and they can't really change where those lights were because they're on that wall and they're permanently there. And the reason that they actually do have lights on them, I'm sure the photographer used lights to light them up and light the car up. So I can understand why the light on the top side has a shadow coming, because it's created from the shadow from lighting the subjects. Without that, we wouldn't have them lit. so I can live with that in the photo. I'm just looking at the composition. The car's perfectly placed right within the window behind it. I don't mind underneath the hood that it's flat, because the interesting part is the guy being intent on looking at the engine, and she's putting on her lipstick. I think the storytelling's strong enough at least to put it up into the next category. I think it's wonderful. Please, I hope you'll come up with me.
Score's an 85.
In waiting.
$83.
Sisters in painted opposition.
$80.
Teddy bear dreams.
$80.
Princess bride.
$78.
Painted fates.
$81.
Lovely.
$76.
Party in the back.
$81.
Veil.
$80.
Heather.
$77.
Bedhead.
$80.
Overcome.
$80.
Play ball.
$80.
Mr. Speakeasy.
79.
Challenge. I'm at 83. Think we can get this one more point given into the merit category. Composition's great. Lighting's very interesting, almost coming from the back side, but that kind of makes sense to me when you're maybe in this smoking lounge or wherever he's at. You know, it's such an unconventional portrait. There's a lot to love here.
78 above average. Agree. A lot of interesting stuff to look at. I guess I was just had a lot of trouble with that side, the right side of the face there, where the highlight is really strong there on the temple and the smoke's going in front of the eye. Wish that we didn't have that big wrinkle of shirt there at the bottom, because it's kind of a very well put together image, and then we've kind of got a little bit of stuff happening there.
Yeah, I scored this a 78 in above average category. I like the story here. I was having a hard time with a little bit of the tension of different things in the image, the tension of the lighting not really lighting his face, and the tension of the smoke over his eye, and the tension of him looking off to the right, you know, a little bit over to the right instead of having more room on the other side of the image. And maybe the tension could be considered a good thing, but to me, I was having a hard time with it.
78, enjoy the composition a lot, and but for the points mentioned, I was below merit category.
So I had a 76 above average. I kept on looking at his nose where it was blown out on the side and the top of his forehead blown out and coming down, so the lighting wasn't correct for me. The shirt was a problem. Amputating his finger kind of like down at the very bottom of the image. And I just, again, was distracted by the smoke coming through his eye.
So in rebuttal, take this out of the portrait category, put it in the illustrative category, and imagine you're a cinematographer and you're trying to do a character study of this guy for this scene. I think it really does play to what the maker was intending here, that he's kind of maybe a little shady, maybe not, but we don't know much about him. So there's a lot of tension here. It looks like he could be telling you a story that's a little bit hard to believe. I even like the little tilt of the camera, making those vertical lines in the back go slightly askew. I think if you look at it from an illustrative image, you've got something strong here. I think we can certainly get it one more point. I'm going to stay at 83.
Scores an 80.
Castaways.
Scores an 81.
Battleground memory.
$76.
You want a piece of me?
Scores 82.
Tea for two.
$79.
Sunrise surreal.
$78.
Abby.
$77.
Waiting for the day.
$78.
Painting the roses red.
82.
Smoky Blues.
78.
Sunward.
78.
Stylish Squeeze. Stylish Squeeze.
80.
Little Baby Bump.
77.
All In.
81.
Awaiting His Return.
84.
Challenge.
Challenge.
Yeah, I'm at 87 in excellent category. I love this image, the storytelling aspects, the color harmony of the chair and the background, how the dog is standing against the background, the composition of it, the dog being turned away to the right of the frame, creating some tension and the sadness. Would love to hear fellow judges' comments on this.
Oh, I was at a 78, above average. I want to love it. I want to love the puppy because he's so cute. But I just kind of was distracted by the area of the highest contrast, which was right behind his head. And I went into the chair and I kind of didn't have a reason to come back out because he wasn't looking at me and he didn't have his eyes open. And so I kind of just got lost in the image. And so I think it's an impact thing for me.
I have it at 84. I think it's just a little tiny bit muddy for me. If we could bring that contrast out a little bit more, I'd go up in a heartbeat.
88 for the positives, already there.
I scored this an 84. Love the story, love the color tonality. It was a little bit mushy, I felt like, by his back hind leg there, but I could definitely go up.
Impact wise, I mean, the point of contrast is on his face. I mean, we are there and he's waiting, and that's why he's turned away. I mean, that's the story that's being told here. If he looks at us, then he is not missing his buddy. And the contrast, the dog itself is the brightest part of the image, and we have enough contrast between the background and the chair. And if we see, like, we are moving from the darkest part to gradually coming to the dog to the brightest one. Yes, the back of the dog is a little bit mushy, but it's I mean, it's the technique I think they used, and that is but consistent with everything else in the image. I would encourage everyone else to come up. 87.
Scores at 85.
Dawn's Early Light.
79.
Game Day GNT. Oh, I'm sorry. Game Day Grit.
77.
Beauty Queen.
$79.
Nana's Memorial Roses.
$78.
Lubbock Beauty.
$76.
The Princess Diary.
$87.
Challenge.
I thought so.
96. I can't find anything wrong that I don't like. Talk to me.
I'm in 86 and I so want to be there. Couple of things that held me back is the overlapping of the background color onto the chair top. And so the chair had like this pinkish tones going up, but when we go to the edges on the top, that kind of bothered me a little bit, and also the bottom of the chair disappearing. I wish the legs were there. Other than that, love this image. Beautiful image.
I was at 81, deserving of a merit. I think for me, I love the image, but I just got stuck on the lighting. I just feel like it's a tad underexposed. And because it is pretty flat lighting and there's no directional lighting, the chair appears flat to the background and not having the legs on the chair. And then it almost makes it seem like it's floating. So I want to like the image, but I'm just stuck there.
I'm at 82. It does feel a little bit flat, but I do like the overall pastel effect of it. I feel like that chair's awfully close to that background, and the shadows behind there are what take me out.
I was at 92 on this. I love the image, and to me, the flatness is a result of the technique that they're trying to emulate, this pastel chalky type feel, and that's why it's kind of fading off at the top as at the bottom as well. That it's just fading off to the paper where they're not creating as much anymore. And so that's why that is vignetting that way. And so the color's blending over again. If this was a chalk pastel type thing, you would have some of that color bleeding across the tops like that. So to me, it works really well. I love it. I love the soft quality of it. I don't want a lot of contrast jumping out on this type image.
Yeah, exactly what was just said, with the pastel look and that fading into the bottom of the chair legs and the top. To me, that's the overall style of the image, and it was purposefully done. As you can see, they would have left legs if they didn't purposefully do that, because that, to me, just lends to the artisticness of the chalk pastel look. And you look at the blacks in his eyes and the blacks on his nose, and then you look at that white fur, and you have contrast there. It's an overall soft image, soft pastels, soft lighting. So the direction of lighting is just that soft, beautiful portrait. This is one that just makes my heart beat. I absolutely love everything about it. Love the framing, love the lighting, love the chalk. So please join me, 96.
93.
Shadows Stare.
Where's the 80?
The Real Thing.
$77.
Emerald Elegance.
77.
A long walk home.
79.
Still standing.
81.
Tiny Tanya.
81.
Challenge. I'm at 75 and above average category on this image. I like the storytelling aspect of it, but one thing that bothered me really is the face being so soft and the shoes being really sharp, and also the hot spots on her hair and the face. Just would like to talk and see what my fellow judges have to say.
I was at an 80 in the deserving of a merit. I think her forehead is a little hot, and I also think that for having a title with Tanya's name in it, like Tanya Harding, that there should be more light on the skates. So I kind of was a little stuck there. I did like the snow; it was pretty.
I scored an 83. I think it tells a great story. I think the lighting is just fine. I realize that maybe her forehead and her cheeks are a little bit hot, but I think it's in keeping with the key of the rest of the exposure on her. I don't think we need any more lights on the skates. It's a portrait of her, not the skates. I'd love to see this go into the merit category.
83 for the positives.
Yeah, 82. It's been said.
Okay. I'm on the low end, but I can't really get past the sharpness issue, which was we didn't talk. Her face seems to be really, really soft to me, and I'm stuck on the shoes, and I'm not able to go there, so I will be staying at my 75.
Scores an 81.
Towering confidence.
78.
The challenge.
77.
Summer bells.
77.
Boots.
79.
Calm before the storm.
77.
Hide and peek.
78.
Settled.
77.
A twisted past.
78.
Just passing through.
'81.
Reaching.
'82.
A walk in the park.
'78.
Love hurts.
'78.
The path less traveled.
'77. Judges, let's stretch and rotate. It's okay.
Oh, this is a good seat. I like that middle seat.
It is a good seat.
The middle seat.
Uh-huh. That's a nice seat to have.
I'll let you know if you miss anything.
All right, all right. Just let me know.
Everybody good?
We'll search again tomorrow.
'78.
Beautifully betrothed.
'79.
Going for 8.
'77. So, are you comfortable in your new seat? I didn't realize that was in the category.
Let's bring back betrothed.
Betrothed. Challenge? Steve?
Yeah, I scored it an 80. It's at a 79. It's so close. I just want to talk about it. I do think it's a nicely lit portrait. Like the detail and the texture of her dress. Let's just talk about it.
I was above average on this one. I think 77. The issue just the shallow depth of field for me. That it's just a little too shallow. So the bulk of the image is soft or out of focus. Especially, I feel like the ring is a big part of the story, and it's out of focus.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this back, Steve, because I did give this an 80. And I don't mind the shallow depth of field. Love the sharpness in her eyes and her face. It's where it needs to be. I love the color tonality in this.
Thank you for challenging as well. I was at 81 on this. I should have probably challenged this. I love the soft nature of it, the color palette of the image. Beautifully done, and our eyes are going where they're supposed to go.
So I believe I was at a 78, above average. Again, the shallow depth of field with her hands, I felt like the ring was a part of the story, plus the hand posing on her hands. And when you look up a little bit further, the totally of the dress is not actually put down very nicely. And then if you look up a little bit higher where her eye is and you go camera left, it's almost like the totally or white is creating like an arrow through the head, kind of like through there. Her facial expression and everything is very beautiful on the top side of the portrait. It's the bottom part of the portrait that falls off for me.
Yeah, in rebuttal, you know, we're looking for one point. I think it's an interesting angle. We don't see a lot of bridal portraits done this way, but this photographer's trying something a little different. The sharpness in her eyes and her face and the top of her dress, I think, is just spot on. So don't really need to see the rest of it crisp and sharp. That might make it awfully busy. So I'm going to stay at 80, but I'd like to see if we can get one more point in there.
Good challenge. We'll give it an 80.
Any other images y'all want to see again? Anyone staring at you?
Can I challenge another one?
You may.
I want to go back to an early black and white one we saw of a young lady. I believe it scored a 79. Most of the conversation had to do with the technique of sharpness. That's the one.
Oh
yeah.
Good.
This one from last year.
How early?
Last year, so you said.
2015.
Oh,
Number 16.
number 16?
Black and white headshot. This one I like.
This one?
This was the one, yes.
The title again?
Catalina Therese.
And it scored.
It scored a 79.
This
It
one
was-
just haunted me since I didn't speak up for it when I had the opportunity, and I just want to go back and look at it again. I cannot take my eyes off of her eyes. I'm just drawn to her face, and whatever her story is, it's just such a subtle beauty that doesn't ask you to look at anything else other than her eyes, other than her face, and you know the gracefulness with which she's prepared her hair and her hand. I'm not at all concerned about the softness of the edges of her hair in that background. I think this is a merit image.
Well, I went back and forth on this one. I believe I settled on the above average, not in the merit category, just because of the inconsistencies that came up. And I just love the face, but I sure wish that it was a little more. I think the face is suffering from a lot of the same thing that the hair has, where it goes from really soft painterly to photographic, and like there's areas I can see freckles on the cheeks, and then toward the edges it goes really smooth. And I just feel like it's a blending of the two that is throwing the things off a little bit, because I think we all agree that there's potential with it.
Yeah, I still kept this one at a merit in the low 80s, and I still feel it's a merit. Look at that beautiful soft lighting, and I'm right there in her eyes and in her face and in her nose and in her lips. And then you look at the hand and how it's curved, and the highlight on the edge of her hand to me draws and matches the highlight on the edge of the upper left-hand side of her face. So your eyes circle around and go around from her eye and around and down through her hand and back up again and right where it needs to be. And so the rest of the softness in the image just does not bother me because my eyes stay right there.
I was in above average category on this image. The impact is great. I mean, I agree about like being on her face and really a strong expression and lighting. So the other elements kept me out of the category, but I am listening.
I was at, I believe, in the above average. I keep on going to the hand and looking at that hand, and if she had broken her wrist more and turned it up a little bit, it's almost like a claw. We see one baby finger over here, and then we only see this side right here, and so the hand closing on it is just not correct. And then if you look at that area directly behind it, it's really, really dark, and it falls off really harsh. And then if you keep on continuing further over camera right, you see her hair, but then it goes to almost like there's no detail. You don't know whether that's a coat she's wearing or whether that's her hair, because there's no detail, and the fall off on it is pretty strong. So those were the reasons I was on the score I had.
One rebuttal, I think the hand creates a very nice curved line in there to match her face. Almost echoes the shape of her face. The way they've lit that, there's so much depth to her face that it's given us that roundness. And I see the same thing in the hand. What you might be seeing as something falling off over on the right behind her hair, that may be a chair. I get the impression that that's a chair back there. perhaps, and that she's a little bit in front of it. Her hair, I see detail everywhere I need to see detail. When you're creating this image, there was the deliberate idea of moving it off center a little bit, which I also think works. That little bit of pattern or interest over in the left just is enough to kind of push you past that void negative space and right into her eyes. I think the softness probably is could be just how this artist visions this girl as a very soft, feminine beauty, and I think they've really captured that. So I'm going to score it an 81. I hope we can get it into the merit category. I think it deserves to be there.
Scores an 81.
Thank you.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll move to the next category.
Yep.
This is illustrative. Has been judged on the master artist.
Dawn's early light.
Score 78.
Seeking safety in a sunset storm.
Scores a 77.
The merchant's daughter.
Scores a 78.
Tally ho.
Scores an 83.
Imaginary friends.
Scores a 78.
Moonlit demise.
$79.
Challenge. Yeah, I scored this 82, and I thought they did a very nice job with the direction of light and the way they piece this together. And you look at the you know, the direction from the moon. It has a little bit of that fantasy feel with the moon so large. You know, but the lights coming across the water in the right way and across the boat in the right way, the boat sinking into the water. I thought it was done well.
APP for the positives mentioned.
I was at a 77 above average. I like the moon, I like the water, I like the boat. But on the boat, you go to the front of the boat and then you come down the side, and all of a sudden it's like lit up on the side of the boat, but there's nothing over there lighting it up. The moon wouldn't be hitting that side of the boat. So it was understanding where the direction of light came that would light that side of the boat. That's what did it for me. I thought that side should be in shadow.
I was at 78. Just felt like the water wasn't quite the right tonal value for the overall image. And I feel like they did not use much of the canvas to really tell this story. It feels so dropped in and so tight. It just feels like I'd like to have a little more room to breathe.
77 above average. And I think for me the biggest issue is there's just not enough elements that we've put together here. I feel like they've got the light does match the boat and the water, but that's how it was in the source images. So I just don't know when I'm looking at it that there's enough of a leap from what we had to justify a merit in this category. I mean, I look at the horizon line of the water that's really crisp on the left side, and then that whole back right side gets really muddy, and you know, maybe that's from water splashing or whatever where it's sinking, but that's kind of the critical part of this where you're really looking to see how this all comes together, and it's been kind of just blurred in there. So for me, it's lacking enough for this category.
Yeah, so for me, the light coming on the front side of the boat that you were concerned about could be from another boat casting, you know, light onto, you know, where they're looking and watching this boat sinking and helping sinking. The right-hand side of that softness, again, you know, it's night and you have that mistiness and the boat is sinking, so you do have some water splashing. I think I agree with the tonality on the water that could have been handled a little bit better to match into the piece, but I think that could have brought me to a higher score. I would have liked to have seen a few of the highlights toned down on the boat, but as it stands, I still think I'm comfortable in the merit. So I'm going to keep my score of 82.
Scores of 79.
The Ultimate Service.
So, scores of 78.
American Legend.
Scores an 82.